In this video, we're going to take a look at the tax calculator program. This is a really great program to look at because it has several different important parts that make the program run efficiently. So the first part that we're going to take a look at is where we declare the variables and objects. We're going to take a look at a second section where we gather and adjust the user input. We have a very small calculation portion in this program, which is right about there. And we have two important decision structures, one using if-else and the other one, which is going to be a great example of using the switch. So let's go back to the top and talk about the two imports. So import Java UTIL scanner. That's to control our input. And we also have a decimal format class that can be used to format the appearance of floating point numbers, such as money, which we have in this program. Jumping down to our declare variables and objects section, we are creating a new scanner object called input, and we're also creating a new decimal format object called money. So when we create this decimal format object, we are basically passing a string that contains a formatting pattern to the constructor, and that's what's highlighted. So this formatting pattern consists of special characters specifying how floating point numbers should be formatted. In the example that's highlighted, the string, pound symbol, the 0, the decimal place, two other zeros, all in quotes, okay, is being passed to the constructor. That's a string. So this string will be assigned to one of the object's internal attributes. Now for the rest of the project, every time we want to format something in the form of money with two decimal places, we will use this object and a format method that is built into the decimal format class. Okay, now moving on down the line, we have integers and doubles being declared. We have a string, a character, and another integer. I want you to notice that in this entire section of declaring the variables, we are not skipping spaces in between the line. Moving on to the next section where we gather and adjust the input. So we're using our print line, asking for the user to enter hours worked, followed by the input object with the next int method. That's being saved hours worked, and we'll continue that using the input object with the next double method and asking yes or no with the next line method. Since there's not a way to actually accept a character in Java, we're going to accept it as a string, and we're going to use the character at with a 0 argument to just focus on the first character, and that's going to be the letter that we're looking for. Moving on to the performing calculation section, pretty self-explanatory. We'll move on quickly from there to the if-else structure. So this is how we're going to decide what sort of output to print out at the end. We're going to test and see if we are tax exempt, which was one of our inputs. If the user typed in a capital Y, it's going to be a true statement. Or, notice the or in the middle. If the user typed in a lowercase y, we'll also accept that. If either one of those are true conditions, we're going to jump into the if block and run those statements. If both of those conditions are false, we're going to move down to the else, and we're going to move into the else block, and we're going to run these statements. Also notice this is where we get into the formatting right there. So I have my money object, and I have my format method, and the variable that I want to format. And we have that in both of these statements. And the final section we'll take a look at is using a decision structure with the switch. And we just have a few print statements that are going to duplicate a menu type setup. So anytime you're working with the menu, the switch is the natural choice. We're going to accept some input from the user, and we're going to test that input. The switch statement is going to let the variable determine where the program is going to branch to. So a branch occurs when one part of a program causes another part to run. With the if-else statement, the program actually had a couple different possible paths. If the condition was true, it went to the if. If it was false, it went to the else. So the switch statement is similar. However, it tests the value of an integer or character specifically, and then uses that value to determine which set of statements to branch to. As you can see in the example below, we asked for integers in this menu. So we have 3 cases. So if it's a 3, we go to this block. If it's a 2, we go here. If it's a 1, we go here. And if it's none of the above, we set up a default portion of the switch, which normally comes after all of the other case statements. This section is branched to if none of the case expressions match the switch expression. And the last thing I want to take a look at is the break. So the last statement in a group of statements should be the keyword break. So this break statement causes the program to jump out of the switch statement and move on to the preceding statements following this. So it's important to throw in this break statement. If you do not throw in a break statement, for example, and the case number 3 was chosen by the user, it would print out thank you, and then it would also print out the next statement, okay, thanks, and it would move on to this statement, every single one after that. So it's important to use the break when using the switch. So that's a good summary of a lot of the key parts of this program. So we have a few decision structures, calculations, gathering input, and we have declaring variables. Until next time.